Let's just jump right into it, man. I'm super stoked to have one of the biggest legends in the sport, Mr. Barry Nobles. I mean, he's done so much in the sport, still doing so much in the sport, and definitely somebody that I've looked up to most of my life, especially him coming from Alabama, being probably 5, 6 years older than me. So when I was first starting to get into BMX, he was like the older guy. I think was a world champion when I first started doing all the races, right, Barry? You won the worlds when you were like 17, I think.
2003, yeah, 16 years old, yeah, 2003, Perth, Australia.
Yeah, that makes sense because I started racing in 2004. So you were like the current world champion, and I was doing like these regional races. I go to Georgia, and I would always see you being just the dude ripping the track on pit bikes all the time. Like you would always hit the pro section on a little pit bike.
Oh, yeah, the little 16 inches. That's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's
funny.
pretty
I
sweet.
appreciate all that, Will. We got
So,
a lot.
yeah. So, what do you got going on now, man?
Technically, I mean, after Sarasota is when I started my like off season. Finishing up the 2023 year, Thanksgiving weekend. We only get December off, and just kick us off the first weekend of January in Sarasota wasn't really the most ideal off season. So I just tried to be smart and manage, just kind of maintain through December. And as soon as I got home from Florida, I just went into kind of off season mode, and yeah, just in that preseason type prep right now, getting ready for Houston coming up in April.
So, what does off season, preseason looking like for you?
Trying to cut some weight off this bulldog body of mine, trying to get that power to weight a little better. Building the strength, and doing about a 6 week block right now of just slow movement, just strength building, and then we'll start speeding things up as we start tapering into Houston.
Are you
Well,
still
Barry,
working
I'm
with
curious.
Yale? Oh,
I
go ahead,
am.
Edwin.
Oh, well, I was just curious. Physically, I certainly understand a bulldog might need to drop a little weight for the power moves, but I'm curious, is there any mental work you do in the off season?
Um, n- I mean, there's always mental work that anyone can be working on, right? We can always be mentally stronger. I've had a very long career, and I think my strongest points for the past 2 or 3 years has been my mental game. I mean, I'm not looking for big changes in numbers. My biggest goal the past couple years, when I came back into racing, was really just to be more efficient. I didn't expect to have these big number gains in the gym or on the bike, but I knew I had a good engine built already. And if I could just be more efficient and just a little more fine tuned, was kind of my game plan coming back into racing and striving for certain goals that I was reaching for. I mean, I would say my mental game is always, I mean, daily, every daily life. I mean, I got a wife and a 3-year-old daughter, so the mental, having a strong mental game goes across the board in a lot more of just riding a bicycle. So I would say I'm constantly working on that myself, whether it's not trying to strangle a 3-year-old. Obviously, I'm kidding with that, but yeah, and then just being disciplined for my own training, which I do find it kind of hard to be after coming off one of my best seasons I've had. It's hard going into a new year and to set new goals that my goals aren't any higher than they were last year. So mentally that's been kind of a struggle, just trying to find the drive to keep going and still trying to ride at the level that I've been riding at.
Yeah, it's probably pretty
Yeah,
hard to
that
be national number one and world champion in one year, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was an awesome achievement, but going into another year, it's like, how do you beat that year, And you got to really want. I mean, it's hard to. If it was elite, it'd be different, Like those guys have Olympics to strive for and stuff like that. But it's like, man, do I really want another Masters title? I mean, I do, but it would all be awesome. But it's just you just set so much focus into one goal, then you achieve it, and everything just kind of stops. And it's like, okay, well, let's just do it again. And it's like, oh, do we want to do it again? Let's do something new, So Yeah. But yeah, the mental game is always getting worked on. That's for sure.
Is that something that you feel like you were just born with, just a strong mindset, or something you developed along the way somehow?
No, absolutely not, man. It's I mean, it wasn't to be number one or be champion here and there. It was to overcome the weaknesses that I did have through my whole career. You know, it's like I've always been the guy who I like to do all this other stuff. I always have other distractions in front of me, and I checked a lot of boxes. So when I came back racing, I had a lot of all these other distractions kind of already checked. I'm like, well, I did all that stuff. Now let's actually focus on what we can do physically in BMX racing. And I can never just last through a whole season from January to November. I would just get so burnt out, and um I would mentally get weak that way, and I would just find excuses for myself why I would show up to a race. I wouldn't want to be there. Or and it's kind of the same thing in a way I'm doing now, but at a different level, I'd say. But yeah, you'd always just find excuses on why I'm not winning or why I'm not making the main, or I always had an excuse to fall back on that I've been doing freestyle or I've been doing this. But even when with what you're saying, your question, Will, is like the first year I ever started winning double A races, I completely broke down. You know, I completely threw away. That was the first and only year I was up for the ABA title, and I completely just choked and threw that away like early on. And it just all mentally, I wasn't prepared to even ride at that level. I wasn't prepared to go back to back wins. I started off, I was just riding a bike. I started winning races. This is cool. I started putting all this external pressure on myself. And yeah, I was so mentally weak that long answer to your question. But yeah, I've been a head case my whole career up until the last few years of just getting smarter and more mature with my training, you know?
Was there a certain mindset shift that you went through of like just focusing less on something and more on another thing, or what was the main change?
I would say the biggest change was I was doing it for myself. I just wanted to see what I could actually do. You know, let's just take this serious, and whether we win or not, like let's just put the work in and see where that gets us, you know, and then you put the work in, you start seeing these results. And I had a taste of it. I've had a taste of winning through my double A career. And I didn't know how to like um keep it going, you know, like I don't know how to just keep that momentum going, how to block out what everyone else says or block out these points chasing. And so when I came back into racing, I didn't look at points. Like once I really started winning consistently, I knew where I would stand in points, obviously, but I still never looked at points. I didn't know what point gaps were from first or second. I would just purely do the work, show up to the race. If I win, I'm going to be getting good points. If not, we need to learn from why we didn't win, learn from those mistakes, and just keep moving forward. And I think that's what the biggest thing was, because the biggest memory that it mentally crashed me back, like going for a double A title, was points. Oh God, I need to get points at this race. I need to go and I need to win here because of this, instead of just riding my bike. Instead of just getting to the first jump before I get to the first turn, you know, I'm in practice before the first moto and I'm already thinking about the main event, you know. I haven't even got through first round yet. I haven't even got to the first turn yet, you know. So I really started learning how to break down the steps and understand the process a lot more. And more I did that, the more I kind of learned from it. And it was all like kind of just I had moved back to Alabama at this point, so I had nobody else to really train with. So I purely just took on all my screw ups and mistakes from back in the day. I'm like, how can we just fix this moving forward? And as things would start to work, I would just kind of like note them and remember them, and just kind of keep implementing that into my training. And now here we are. I got two back-to-back titles, world title, and a bunch of wins, and it's just like sweet. Like all that stuff worked, you know. And I know I wasn't doing anything crazy different from anyone else. I'll just keep it consistent, and I would just try to be better than myself the day before. You know, I'm not comparing myself to any of the guys that I race. I just want to be better than who I was at the last race.
Yeah, that's
Points,
really
and
cool.
whether points happen, they happen. It's just if I win, I win. If I don't, then we just keep working.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barry, that's not an easy feat for a young writer, right? So is there a framework based on your experiences that you could give a younger writer who's listening, who now recognizes they have a mindset problem? What's the step in elevating that from where they are to where you are a lot earlier?
Um, I wouldn't say I'm putting this in any kind of order, but I do constantly find myself talking about when I do clinics and stuff, I really talk about 1% a lot, and I break those little 1% into those little 1% goals. You want to get to the first turn first, you want to whole shot your class. Well, let's get to the first jump first. Okay, if you want to get to the first jump first, let's get to the 30-foot line first. And if we want to get to that 30-foot line first, how do we get more efficient to get to that 15-foot point first, and it's just one step at a time and just really kind of narrowing down that focus instead of looking at all these external distractions and whoever's on the inside of me or whoever's on the outside of me, just trying to really bring it down to yourself, because at the end of the day, is as easy as it is to say, is a race lap is just like a practice lap. I mean, it is. At the end of the day, you're getting on the gate just like anything else. And yes, like you said, being a young rider, that's really hard to understand. And I don't know I'm still trying to work on how I deliver that to younger riders that I talk to or try to just influence. But I just keep trying to re-ingrain that, like just repeating that over and over and over, like just focus on yourself, focus on your snap and your transfer into your second pedal. And I've noticed that just really kind of brings that focus, gives those little young brains a task of, let's not worry about what he's doing over here, let's just worry about keeping this good form we've been working on out of the gate and really delivering into that second and third pedal and getting to my mark, getting to that mark that's 15 feet in front of me. And so yeah, that's kind of how I found it the most, just pretty much just brain dumping on kids and clinics and sharing how I've done it. And I know it's so much different from everyone else, but I was a kid that didn't learn too easy. I really had a hard time comprehending a lot of stuff. So now, even today, I mean, I still do it in my own training when I want to understand stuff. But when I deliver stuff to other kids, I try to break it down in the most basic, simplest terms to they could even understand that. And that way, it just kind of brings them into focusing on their self and not who all is around them. Because that's the biggest question I get is, how do you not get intimidated, or how do you not get scared because so and so's on the gate? It's like, well, it's hard. We all do it. We all still do it. We just got to learn how to control that, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. I really like the way you said that too. And I've like kind of said the same thing to kids. And I just notice it in my own life. It's like the more I can almost block out the distraction of everything else and then just becoming present, focusing on myself and my own process, right? And getting the kids to focus on, hey, just put all your attention on getting the best gate that you can. Don't worry about this guy's gate, right? But
Yeah.
I love that. So I want to go back to Alabama, man. Like growing
Hang on,
up
you know
in
what? Just I want to touch on this one thing, just because you said that about the kids. I know kids are gonna watch this. One thing that I do talk about, and I like to say it just because we're gonna reach more kids, whether these kids follow me or follow you, whatever the case. But we always get on the gate, we're behind the gate, we're stressing, we're thinking about whoever's next to us. One thing I always like to, especially when it's a big race, I like to always tell the kids to look out in the crowd. Like just like take in all this energy from all these people. Like, look how many the stands are packed, and how cool that is to be racing. And I know that was one thing for me that I would start focusing on that, and I would find myself stop worrying about who's around me. Then it's our turn to get on the gate, and then you only got 10 seconds to really stress about all that other stuff now, instead of the last 90 seconds to stress about it. So that was one that I just wanted to say that, because you mentioned kids, and like kids are gonna watch this, so they need to hear that too. Soak that in. Yeah, let's go back to Alabama.
Yeah. So, a lot of us know the nickname is Alabama Slam. It seems like you've definitely made it further than anyone else from Alabama. And I know there's been, a few other riders that were riding there, but it's not a huge scene, So what was it like growing up racing in Alabama? Were there riders to look up to, or, were there other pros around to push you, or how did you, you know, find the ability to reach that next level coming from Alabama?
Yeah, I didn't have any. I didn't have another pro. The oldest guy was a guy named John Andrews. I'm sure you remember John. Him and I still ride here today. He was about 4 or 5 years older than me. He was just the high guy, the good guy at the track, And I think back then, I think he was probably 15 or 16 years old. It was hard, man. It was and because of that, I still try to. Because of that, I never forget where I kind of came from with it. It's a constant reminder because when I travel around and do these clinics, I see all these other kids that are in the exact same boat that I was, I just had trails in my backyard. I lived an hour away from everyone down in the country. I would just look forward to dudes coming to ride on the weekend. My main group of guys, it was John Andrews, Jesse Heath, Andy Belsterling. Those are like my main crew of dudes. And we would just ride on weekends. And I've always been competitive. I just always want to be better. Not better than everyone else, but I just want to be a better rider every time I rode, So I think that was the mindset of I just want to be better, whether it's learning tricks or learning skills. And so I kind of developed the skills side of riding a bike early on, but I never understood the training. I never had the guidance in training, even into my AA career. I never really had a coach. I couldn't afford a coach. So I think one of the first times I actually worked with someone, I was already AA. Richard Bunt at Claiborne paid for it. And even back then by this point I had probably 10 years of just doing what I do. And I almost didn't understand how to how do I word it? How to comprehend the structure of training, it just never worked for me. It would have worked. Then I could have had a completely different elite career if I would have understood the structure a little better. And even the people that were around me, well into my AA career, doing Olympic runs. I just had so much different personalities of riders and athletes around me. I think I was also just stubborn and the ego is I'm just going to do it how I want to do it because I got here, Well, it got me there. It got me into the AA ranks. I won a handful of races, but I never had that mindset to be a champion. I was never taught that mindset to be a champion. And by the time someone was around me to kind of help guide me in that way, I think I was just so stubborn and stuck in my own ways that I just never actually realized what I kind of had at my fingertips in a way, And I wouldn't change any of that. I wouldn't go back. I don't have any regrets about any of that because however that whole process was back then is why I am who I am now, especially at my age. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it took out of, I moved away to California, left Alabama, and actually I missed the big part. I started going to Florida, racing your guys' series, and that was kind of my kind of development into a AA. That's when I started winning. But even then, I was just riding. That's why I was in Florida. I was just racing all the time. I was training with Tyler Fierro. We didn't have any kind of structure plan. We just go do sprints, love what we were doing, and go race. And then I'm winning races. And yeah, I don't know what set me apart different from anyone else that's come up through the sport in Alabama. I don't know. I don't even know what got it. I don't know why hopefully there's someone that's going to fill my shoes in the future. I want to be a part of it and I want to see it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because I finally got out. I went to Florida and I expanded my wings a little bit there. And then I got the opportunity to go to California and I lived in California for 10 years. But dude, I didn't smarten up to things until I was back living in Alabama, So it just did this full circle that it's like, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
I was just being me the whole time, you know?
So the next thing I want to ask is you're sponsored by one of the raddest companies probably in the world to be sponsored by. That's Mercedes Benz. Like, how did that happen? You know, like how did you get in contact with them? And yeah, like how?
Right place, right time. Honestly, they came to me. It was during COVID. It honestly had nothing to do with BMX at all. I wasn't even racing BMX when we first started talking. It was actually when we first started talking, it was August, September of 2020. I was in my like training phase of coming back for the USA BMX Grands when they did the winner take all. I hadn't talked about it on social or anything. But I was always traveling, like with my first Sprinter van, like doing mountain bike stuff, doing freestyle stuff, and they found me somehow. I've actually still to this day never actually asked them how they found me, but they reached out to me for this actually a Skype thing just like this. For the best way to explain it, since you know what it is, like Interbike for bikes, you know, it was like an Interbike for vans for the van life. 3 year old just walking in. Hey Willow. And yeah, it was like the hey, you
Hey
can sit here
Willow.
and be quiet. I guess mom's not watching her. So you're gonna get popsicle. All right, go on. Sorry.
Has she been riding?
We got the in there. Not really. Since she had ridden since she was at your house. But we got in-laws in town, so we got grandma, grandpa, mom's doing projects. Anyways, so they reached out to me to do a Zoom thing like this for vans where it was me, some NBA player. I don't watch NBA, so I don't really know who he was. Wee Man from Jackass. This family who was like living over in Asia or something who ships their van around, and one more like kind of higher profile girl. Yeah, we just did a thing just like this, and we showcased our vans, and then of course after that I reached out like, hey, is there any way like to talk about a potential partnership with this, you know? And they hadn't told us anything, but it was kind of also a tester for this new marketing campaign they're going into for the van life stuff. So about a month later, they reached out and yeah, asked if I wanted to work together. And it was a purely just social media thing, you know. And by this point, I was just going into racing, and I think by the time we were about ready, like, all right, I was picked out of this small group of people. We're going forward, and now I'm already racing. So then they wanted to be like my title sponsor, and then I just sold them on this whole other deal. So it turned into this just purely social media thing. We're gonna get you a van, which already had a van, right? So it's like, well, getting a new van's not helping me pay the bills, you know, as awesome as that is. And but yeah, and so it turned into like a full title sponsorship, and yeah, they've been awesome to work with, and yeah, it's just very grateful. It's, you know, a lifetime dream to have a brand like them partnered, right? So and I've been driving Mercedes Sprinter since 2016 and always wanted some kind of partnership, and I'm like, oh, I just kind of manifested it, you know. I just put it out there to the universe, and I always wanted it, and it finally worked out, and it's been a dream come true.
Do you have somebody helping you out to learn how to talk to companies or sponsors, or is that something that you've kind of been naturally good at, or maybe a mentor or something?
I wouldn't. No, I don't. I don't have anyone to help me there. I wouldn't say naturally good, but I do really work on just speaking with people. You know, I mean, it's just by doing stuff like this. You know, you just learn to communicate with people, and um that one I didn't, but I will say, dealing with such a big corporate company, it was a learning curve. Like I mean, at the end of the day, they have nothing to do with BMX, right? And I view things very different from how they viewed things. So I learned a lot through these last 2 years working with them, and the BMX is far from corporate as you can get, you know, and they're very corporate, and yeah, so it's just that in itself I've learned so much from, just how learning how to talk to people. And we're always learning. I mean, especially with social media now, everything marketing is just constantly changing every 6 months to a year. So I'm just trying to stay busy with it and stay always learning. And I wouldn't say I do well at it, but I'm my own worst critic, you know, so I'm always trying to learn more and how can I grow? How can I be bigger? How can I talk with bigger people? And yeah, so no one there to help me. It's just been kind of self-taught, trial and error and see who whether just throwing stuff on the wall, and if it sticks, we'll take notes from it, you know.
Yeah,
You know, and
that
you've
is so wise. I have heard that from some of today's top influencers in the entrepreneurial space, from Tony Robbins to John Maxwell to any of the Shark Tanks will tell you that the number one skill you need to learn as a young person in any aspect of life is how to communicate with people. That will take you much farther than any degree ever will. So I think that's a great lesson.
Cool, good to hear that.
yeah, and then I know you've been with a couple brands for maybe over 20 years, right? Maxis and Fly. It seems like you've been riding for them since day one. What's it like building
Yeah.
a relationship for like 20 plus years with the same brand? It's rare.
It is rare, you know, and dude, back to Alabama day, like I've always just been so grateful to have any partners, and I mean that Southern hospitality, maybe it's like I'm just super loyal to anyone who wants to partner with me and help me live the dream that I live now. It's like I owe them everything, right? So I've never been one to jump around. I've had deals offered to me throughout the years where I had one clothing deal that offered me double of what Fly gave me years ago, but I was like, well, what if this company's gone in 2 years? I always looked at it like that. Like they might give me double now for 2 years, but after 2 years, what if I have nothing? You know, and now here we are. This is probably easily 10 years later. I still got Fly. You know, I've still had raises over the years, and it's like those little partnerships that sound so good in the moment, right? It's like, but is it really worth it in the long run? I've seen people jump ship because someone pays better here, and then they're gone in 2 years, you know. And so Fly, I mean, Fly and Maxis would have been the same year. They both started hooking me up at 15 years old, and yeah, years later I get contracts with them. Here I am at 37 years old, still with Fly, still with Maxis. ODI is another one. ODI has been about 15 years, and it all really just started as just they were someone that gave me free stuff. They were cool. It was more of a family. I didn't feel like I had a job to do, you know, like just they're always just be me. You know, ODI is prime example. They don't ask for anything. Not the other guys don't, but ODI is just someone he's always reminding me, just be you. I don't care what just you just do you, you know, and so stuff like that that goes such a long way. Like why would I go to another brand if I have such a family in this brand? I'll take less money to be with you for the next 20, 25 years, you know, and still be doing this as a career at 37 years old, you know. I mean, you've seen it, Will. How many people around 30 or even, you know, it's like you don't
Yeah,
not even sport anymore. You know,
for
like
sure.
there's been Olympians that aren't like they're, which is fine, you know, everybody finds their own path, but I always say it like Nick Long and I always say, like, we got careers, degrees in this sport, so it's like why leave it for a different career, you know? It's like you got so
Yeah.
much to get back.
Yeah, for sure. And so I had no intentions to just spend so much time on the sponsors, but you have some of the best sponsors and biggest sponsors in the game, man. So like you're riding for Chase, which is probably the most dominant brand in the sport. What's it like riding for those guys?
That was and yeah, oh yeah, and I'm just a talker too, so you guys can feel free to tell me to shut up and move on to the next one. But yeah, dude, Chase is that's truly a dream come true. I mean, I have always thought they were just the pinnacle team, you know, and purely not because I'm riding for them. It was always a team that I never thought I'd be good enough to ride for. You know, I mean, um, the the pretty rough around the edges tattooed guy, you know, and they're just super clean cut professional team. And so when Pete asked me to ride for him, it was a no brainer, really, you know, and it was kind of like, as long as they could work around a couple partners that I had that we can work to, like Max's prime example, I'm like, it was still, as big as Chase was. I mean, it was an honor ride for him, but like someone like Max's, they've been here for 20 years. I'm not going to leave them just for a amazing ride, but same kind of theory is like, what if I'm only here for 3 years, 2 or 3 years, or whatever the case. And they were same thing. They were just stoked on what I was doing, and they're like, yep, we can make this work. So I was able to keep that deal. And yeah, I still go out there and look at that bike, and never thought I would own a BMX bike that is so dialed as is my current race bike, and yeah, it's Chase. I mean, look how many championships they have under their belt. And I mean, Christoph Avec, the owner of the company, it's like he was a legend pro growing up. Watched him, the guy won everything, and to be teamed up with those dudes, it's like, yeah, it's a true honor to throw that jersey on every time. And I've always liked looking super professional on the track, and they look so pro always. It's like, I've taken it over. Like, I'm just a rider for the team, but I mean, you've seen it at the races. Like, I do the pits, and I'm just proud to like represent that brand, and I'm always proud of what my own setup looks like. So I'm like, dude, I can set up and have the Chase pit is like my home base. Like, it just keeps getting better, So yeah, it's a brand I'm truly proud to be a part of, and super grateful for them, because they give me all the freedom in the world. Just another one of the great sponsors is just like, just be you.
Yeah. I want to go to the Olympic trials, man. Like, you were pretty close to winning that thing and gaining your spot on the Olympic team. Tell me what that race was like, and how you think things would have been differently if you would have made that Olympic team.
Um, I'm assuming you meant the second one, because that's the one close.
Yeah.
But I'll go back just briefly. First Olympic trials was definitely a learning curve. I mean, it was I learned a lot from that race. It was a track that was like my backyard track at the time, and I had a lot of confidence that there was only a handful of dudes that could truly beat me around that track. When it came to like a true race. And rushed it, only made it halfway around the track, kind of made the move second behind Connor, and just kind of rushed the process, didn't know how to relax on the track, and came up short, and watched that small chance go away, even though it was Connor winning. But there was still a chance for 2.5 more straightaways, and watch that go away. Learned a lot from that moving forward. By the time the next trials came around, like 2 or 3 weeks before, I was almost like told I wasn't even going to be in it, like, just politics, right? And so I actually flew home from my brother's wedding a week before trials. I got a call. I'm literally standing at the front of whatever it's called at a wedding, and I get a text. We're doing the rehearsal. I check it, and it almost like pissed me off. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm at a wedding in Alabama, and I just got told, hey, you're going to be on the trials team, which I should have known. I should have been on there, no questions anyways, right? And so change of flight, go back to California like 2 days later, get ready for that. Which, as much as I knew the track, I hadn't touched my bike for 2 weeks. Kind of mentally broke down, or I was mentally broke down, kind of over it. I'm like, I'm not riding the goal is kind of like crushed, So I hadn't been touched my bike, went back, had a couple days back on Chula, and I knew that track well. And by this point, I'd gotten lots. I was getting more mature, and also I was at this trials. Man, how do I say this? Like, I'd pretty much already accepted where I was at that trials. I was just there for the experience. My goal going into trial, I wanted to get top 3 at that trials. Fast forwarding through, I knew there was other riders that deserved it more than me. Corbin deserved to be an Olympian much more than I was. I was in, right before I got told I wasn't going to be in trials, I was in France at a mountain bike event, So my focus I didn't have all my eggs in the basket of going to the Olympics, and that's the story of most of my career. But going into that race, I just wanted a top 3, like a top 3 would be like, I'd be super stoked on that. That would be a good kind of an ender to it. And yeah, to go and get second behind Corbin, that was good enough as a win for me. I kind of proved prove to myself and to others that I had what it takes to be there, but I just didn't. I'm sorry, I could have had what it takes to be there, but I just didn't give it that 100% through the whole last 24 months to lead up to it to earn that Olympic spot, you know? So I've never once looked at that like, oh, I almost made Olympics, like whatever the case. Like I did exactly what I needed to do, you know, get second behind Corbin. Corbin was the one that who earned it. You know, he was the one that put those three riders, you know, him, Connor, and Nick, like their focus was to go Olympics. My focus was like, I want to go to Olympics, but it wasn't, I'm gonna go to Olympics, you know. They knew they were gonna go. That was their goal. That was their goal. They're gonna win, or they're gonna check that box, and no, there's no other option. You know, like a lot of things now, when I set a goal, I've learned like there's no other option. We're gonna just check that goal. Back then, it was like, yeah, going to the Olympics was cool, would be cool, you know, but I wasn't ready for that. I wouldn't. If I would have gone to Olympics, I would have probably gone out in motos because I would have been mentally ready for it. And yeah. So I don't know what would have changed, but I'm glad I didn't because again, back to what we said earlier, I might not even be in BMX right now if I would have gone. You know, so it that Olympic trials went exactly how it should have gone. Like I went there and I achieved exactly what I wanted to achieve, and yeah, getting second behind Corbin was a win for me.
Do you think that you're faster now or when you were elite? Or when do you consider your peak was, or do you think you're
Um,
peaking now?
I would say I'm much more efficient now. I'm much more efficient, much more consistent. Like I've seen, I think I would beat my old self to the first jump now for sure. I would say old me would have better track speed, you know, because we train different, you know, like right now I trained for what my weakness was my whole career, you know, and it was just getting to the first jump. So now I've kind of got that. And with our class now, like, you know, it is like, if you can get to the first jump for first turn first, as long as you can manage, there's not that many. I'm pretty confident there's not that many people that are going to get around me on the track, you know. And I know there is a handful of dudes that have good track speed, but I have to be on my A game. If I make a mistake, yeah, someone's going to be there. Upshaw is going to be there to pass me. There's a lot of great riders, but I could tell, I don't know if you saw the video I did of Grands, that was a really eye
Hmm.
opener on how much I don't focus on track speed. I just maintain. But the elites, you're always gaining. You're always pulling on every jump, you know. So yeah, again, another long answer to your question. I would say my old track speed would probably be better because I would drive harder around the track, but I think now I would beat myself to my old self to the first jump, but I wouldn't say it that I'm faster or stronger. I think I'm more efficient in the technique of getting from the gate to the jump than I used to be.
Are you making more money now or then?
Yeah, for sure. But it's just different, you know, like sponsorships are much different than what they were. When it comes to just BMX stuff, I'm pretty much still in the same double A salaries that I was back then. But I have other stuff. I have a lot of other side stuff that I do now that like I mean having Mercedes, a lot of other brands, and yeah, yeah, that side of things is much better than it used to be for sure. But it all evens out, you know. I got a whole family. I got a mortgage and much more bills. I got a family. I got a lot more travels to do, you know. So yeah, I probably I is just as much as I make more, I probably spend a lot more as well to make to do what I do.
Given what you know now, what would you change earlier in your career?
Man, that's a hard one just because I can only think if I changed something 10 years ago, I wouldn't be doing what I am doing now. And I love what I'm doing now so much. I wouldn't want to risk this being different. If that makes sense. You know, like home life, like everything about where I live, everything about life right now, I wouldn't want to change anything before because it might not be what it is now.
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. So what extent are you training with DL now? Because I know you mentioned or before that you're still with him. Like, is he doing your programs or what's that like?
Yeah, so DL's been doing my program. DL and I have always we've been I mean, I've been buddies with him as long as I've known you as a little 13-year-old punk kid, right? Just kidding. But no, just know him forever and he's just super helpful, you know. We click, we see things, we just see things super similar and he keeps things pretty basic and I started with DL going into the world's lead up because as much as I was like everything was on path, I was riding good, I had a good structure, good routine going. I just wanted to be that 1% better, you know. So he was writing me up a program leading in the worlds and we kept that going throughout the year. And right now it's more, I would say it's more of a guidance, you know, just because my mindset is very different going into this year, you know, and I mean, he's got his focus on his main dudes, you know, and I don't want to take too. Not that he even cares, right? But I just kind of happy with the training, the little structure I've gotten. So I'm still doing the same stuff, and DL and I still talk every other day. But yeah, it's not near as in depth as it was say last year, you know. And more, I just needed a mental break. I needed to kind of like switch off from having that structure and routine every day just to be able to go outside and get in the tractor and build some dirt jumps and not feel like I'm missing a sprint session or something, you know. Just kind of I just needed to mentally switch off a little bit. But now that I'm kind of back into this little strength block, we're slowly getting things back in routine.
So you mentioned a big mindset shift this year, and also mentioning kind of a lack of motivation coming from a world champion and two-time national champion. What's changing this year, or what is the focus?
I mean, the focus is still to go. The focus has always been just go to a race and win one race at a time. You know, if you go to the race, you win races, championships come. That's always kind of been the goal. And Worlds, for example, that was the first one. I'm like, all right, I want to win Worlds. You know, obviously I wanted the titles, but my mindset with the titles is always just go win races, the title will come. You win your races, you get your points by the end of the year, but Worlds, for example, obviously, like it's one lap. So I don't know. I set the goal for Worlds, achieved it. Um, it was kind of hard getting back into okay, now we got to go. I don't know. I think it's just my personality, you know. It's like I do one thing, it's like, okay, let's do something different, you know. Like I look at someone like Jarvis who's won the 6-time elite man champion, which is insane, right? But it's like, how do you want it that many times? You know, like, but that's just me. Like he wants maybe his goal is that I just want to be the best there ever was, and I have to win 6. You know, he wins 4, he's like, okay, 2 more. Let's keep going, you know? But like someone asked me, Justin Wall asked me at Grands, are you gonna go for Roop's title? Roop has 6 vet titles. I thought like, dude, I can't think of anything worse than to do that. Like, I mean, that's awesome, but for me personally, it's like, man, that is just too much. That's too much repetition, and that's kind of why that's probably been my weakness to my whole career. I just get bored too easy. I want to go ride dirt jumps. I want to go ride mountain bikes. I want to experience all this other stuff for that Two Wheels has to offer. And these last couple of years, I've experienced that other stuff, you know. And now I just kind of as a person, as a brand, I just want to go big. I just want to grow and be bigger. You know, I just want to keep developing, be better, be a better human, be healthier, just to be a better version of myself, which just kind of seems cliche to say nowadays. But yeah, just how do I provide more for my family? You know, how do we go to the next, what is the next step of just being another 30 plus champion or another Masters world, you know, like what's next from that? And so that's what I'm like, just kind of trying to wrap my head around like what I want, like what my next goal is. You know, my goal is still to go to races. I still love winning. I still love racing. I still want to go win. That's still part of that's still part of whatever this new goal is. But I have to keep doing that. How do I word it? Like it's part whatever my next thing is, what I'm doing now is part of that. So I just got to keep doing what I'm doing now till I realize what that next main goal is. You know, like I'm not sitting here saying I want to go and win my third vet title this year, but I want to go and win Houston. You know, like I go win Houston, and then I don't even know. I don't even know what the next race is after Houston. No, say like, I don't even know what the next race is. Houston is the only. I'm like, just get ready for Houston. You know, one race at a time. It's like if Grands comes, it comes. It's cool. I mean, I hope there's some dudes that get more wins in. We got five or six, 4 race days in now. Sarasota, 2 days in Phoenix. Yeah, so there's 4 different winners now in the class. So someone is going to be leading points. That's not me right now. I only have 1 race under my belt, so it's like it'd be cool going into Grands, and it's like, hey, there's a 3-way tie, you know, and it all comes down to who wins the main at Grand. You know, that would something like that would be really cool, and have it'd be cool to put a different pressure on myself. Last 2 years, I had a good lead. The goal is to win everything I could and have a good lead and make Grands a little less stressful. And I've went and I've executed how I plan to, you know. And now I'm like, well, maybe some other dudes will win some races and we'll have a good battle at Grands and just put on a good show, you know. As long as we continue to put on a good show and the crowd keeps watching the vet class and stoked on us, then I think that opens up more opportunity for other dudes 30 plus that can still kind of keep a career out of this. You know, if we can make the class continue to make the class cool, brands are going to get on board, like S Squared doing the whole shot challenge, a whole shot for the vets this year. It's only $100, but it's like they know we're getting eyes, you know. So it's like let's just keep this class cool and just keep the racing good, you know.
Do you have an idea what's next for you? Because I know, you know, we talked about the pros to kind of win the Olympics and then dip out, and then you got a rider like Nick who, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's going to be racing 90 and over expert, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and then I know you have your whole compound and you know spot over in Alabama, and then you have your 9.5 ride company. Do you have an idea of where it's going to go after you're done chasing vet pro titles, or?
Um, as far as like the property, I'm still always going to be developing that. I don't want to do. If you asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said my goal is to be doing the same thing you guys are doing at your spot, you know. But since then, I've gotten married, had a kid, and having camps in my house now is far from what the goal is now. But I want to have it, and I want to do something low key and smaller. Like I have my Halloween jam every year that has been growing. That as far as just property, I want that to be a big thing every year where that just continues to grow. I have this one, just this fun jam type, which is that's all small stuff, right? That's not like life goals. That's just fun stuff to do. That's what I want to do with the property. So everything will stay. As far as the 9.5 brand, I want that to continue. I want that to grow into more than just Barry Nobles. I don't want 9.5, like 9.5 is attached to Barry Nobles as in my number, you know, but I want that to slowly not be the case. I want you to eventually look at 9.5 as just a 9.5, like a ride lifestyle ride type brand in itself and not no attachment to my name. But yeah, I really like that side of things. I don't have all the time in the world like I wish I did and or the funding to grow to bigger things. But yeah, I got a couple products in the line, like no bike parts or anything. Everybody thinks I'm gonna do a bike or something. I'm not trying to just add another piece of the pie, you know. But I want to give something. I want to develop some products that people can genuinely use in their lifestyle. And I mean, it's just a fun brand, you know.
Can I get a little hint of like what product you're thinking, you know, besides apparel?
Oh, nothing crazy. Like right now, it's like we're developing this just like a gear bag right now. Like nothing that's like conflicts with any of my other part. I just want to have a brand in the sport of BMX that's hopefully stays around for a while. It's nothing crazy, but it is just it's just one of the pieces to the puzzle of the future, you know. It's nothing crazy. It's not like I have some secret thing that I know I'm not sharing that. It's just like I'm just kind of taking it as it comes, you know, as we sell shirts, that all that money gets dumped into something else that okay, let's just go a little bigger, little bigger, little bigger, and finding the main goal along the way. You know, I'm still searching. I'm still searching for what the next big goal is. But I have a couple other big goals, but we need more money to reach those. So yeah.
Can you give us an idea on a big goal that you're thinking that need a little money for?
It's not really related to BMX.
That's all right. That's all right.
Just I mean, just financial investments. I'll keep that one to myself for now.
Will, I
Yes,
know you have one last question, but I've got to get this one in before we end. Barry, when you look at the totality of your professional experience, not even professional, even pre-professional to professional, I know you're a gifted and highly skilled and have a ton of strengths that have allowed you to be this successful. And along the way, you've noticed or recognize some weaknesses that you've worked on over time. But when you look at it over the time span, was it the belief and investment in your strengths, or was it the identification and working on your weaknesses that served you the greatest?
it's a good question.
And what actually got me here, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm looking for the was it recognition and belief and practice of your strengths, or was it always working on something that's wrong, the weakness?
You know, you asking that kind of make I think it's actually much simpler than that. Uh when I was a kid, I just wanted to be my goal, my dream was just to be a pro BMXer. You know, that's just whatever level that was. It wasn't like I want to be number one. It wasn't I want to go to the Olympics. It was just I just want to be a pro BMXer, and that's what my job is. What are you gonna do when you grow up? It's like, well, that's what I want to do, right? So I think I've just gone every single year. I just whatever I've learned from that year, pretty much what I just kind of explained. It's like I just want to okay, next year how do we become bigger? You know, how do we be better next year than I was last year? And that mindset is pretty much how I've gotten to this. And I wouldn't say there's much structure. There's been structure through little goals throughout that way, but the ultimate goal is just to live this lifestyle that I don't want to boss. Like I just want to continue to live this lifestyle that I live. And what's that going to take? So now it's like I got there's two properties I'm looking at. You know, it's like okay, if I can get this property, this is going to help bankroll this part, which is going to be able to keep me doing this lifestyle that I actually live. And I was like, okay, what worked? What didn't work this year? What didn't work last year? Going back to like BMX, like trials. Okay, like okay, why didn't I get to Olympics? Could being that Olympian could that have financially helped me for the next 4 years? Okay, we didn't get that. So that's not on the table, right? So what did I do wrong to not get that? And how do we moving forward to the next one, how do we correct that and to roll into the next year? So I would say, I mean, there's very few times where I've had like a good 5 year plan. You know, you like you're talking about all like the big names and big wealthy people. It's like they all see things very far ahead, right? And I think that's always been kind of one of my weaknesses. I'm literally saying this as it's coming to me, but I would say like I'd never looked far enough ahead maybe and made those micro goals. It was always, yeah, I want to go to Olympics. Well, how are we gonna get to Olympics? You know, like what's the process? I've learned now about the process to get to these places, and now I'm starting to learn more about that 5 year goal. You know, okay, if we want to be there in 5 years, what are we gonna do now? What kind of what kind of process are we going to build to put those pieces together to reach that point? And um, I think if I would have had, going back to Will's question earlier, what I could have done different, I would have, I think I wish earlier, say 10 years ago, I wish I've looked further ahead in a smarter way. You know, I always looked for, we always have, I want to be this in 5 years or 10 years, but I never understood how, okay, what's the way to get there? Because I took I did all the forks in the road, you know, and yeah, literally 1 year at a time, man. I try not to force anything that's not genuine to me and who I am as a person, because I've noticed the things I have tried to force in the past, it's like, that's not me, you know? It's like, yeah, that, just learn from those mistakes and just be straight, just be me. And like I said earlier, like be better than who I was yesterday. And I think that mindset has been the biggest change for me in the past couple of years. It's always a battle against myself. I'm competitive. I'll go ride. I'm gonna push someone who's around me. But again, it's not because I'm competitive with that person. I want to beat them. I want to be better than them. I just know as long as you're pushing, you're going to be pushing me. And if you're pushing me, I'm going to be better than who I was yesterday.
Man, a lot of wisdom in that 4 minutes. I hope people rewind that and listen to that again. That was brilliant. Thank you for.
Well, I love hearing that because that sounds like just a brain dump for my end. So,
Barry, what can some of the current pros, current elites do to increase their value and make more money?
and get out of the bubble of just wanting to win races. You know, I can. That's a whole other can of worms. I could go like it was. You have like those guys, the Connors, the Sam Willoughbys, who just let the result. Joris, you know, just let the results speak. Go out there, do the work. You do the work, get the results. The money comes, whatever, all this other stuff comes. But growing up being the guy, I wasn't the Connor, I wasn't the Sam, whatever, but I wanted to kind of have the status of those guys, you know, like I wanted to be on, I didn't care to be the champion, but I want to be this pro. I want to be the pro that there's a certain set of kids that have my same kind of mindset that look up to me. Like I looked up to the ones I looked like the Robin Miranda, the Todd Lyons, the pros that weren't champions. They just did rad stuff, you know, and I just wanted to be like them. And now that I've walked in their footsteps, I want to be bigger than what they were in the sport, you know. It's like, and yeah, I don't want that to sound like I want to be bigger than you. I just want to do better, right? And I just I want more kids to see me. I want more kids to be not to see me, but I want more kids to be inspired by what I do, because there's a lot more kids that live in small town, wherever, with little crappy BMX tracks than there are that's going to be champions. You know, there can only be one champion, but I want to be able to reach that other 99% of kids who aren't going to be a champion. You could thrive. Maybe you will, you know, maybe you will be a champion, but right now you haven't understood how to be one. Just like I don't know how to get to that stage. And whether it's the vet champion, and when you're in the moment, it's the same feeling, you know, and it's a pretty awesome feeling that, yeah, I wish it would have been cool to understand more earlier, or to experience those things earlier in my career. But it's like, I've done it now. I'm like, it feels awesome. Now it's like, how do we get these other kids motivated to want to strive to be that, you know, whether it's the champion or not. Just if you want to ride bikes, let's go ride bikes. Let's figure out a way to make this work for you. But now you got, sorry, I just derail so bad. Now you got the guys, like, they got all the Olympic dreams, which is awesome, right? But what are you doing? What are you doing to keep that after? I mean, there's dudes that have careers and they have other goals. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to Olympics and hopefully I get a medal, and then I'm probably gonna hang up the bike and I'm gonna pursue whatever my degree is. You know, awesome. But that's just not my mindset. My mindset is, I've been a BMXer since I was 3 years old. Why do I want to go sit behind a desk or do something else I don't want to do? I still love this sport. I still love what I do. How do I keep doing this? You know, like, And I always look at it in that way. Even in my AA days, it's like, okay, if I'm not winning races, I still need these people looking at me. I still need my sponsors to be stoked that their logo, their brands are on me. So how do I do that? Dude, I love my
Let's do a
quad.
backflip.
Yeah, like I'm a very to myself person. I'll sit out my property completely by myself, not leave my driveway for 2 weeks. But when I'm at a race, I'm very social, and I have like that's my job, and I love doing it, but I love having the two separated at the same time, and I don't know what to tell you about the current day. I mean, everybody wants to win, and I get that, but I mean, I think I've been a good example where you can have a long career without winning, and there's a lot of good examples of the dudes that have been winning for a long time that you don't know who they are anymore. You never heard of the kids that haven't heard of them, and I'm not bad mouthing anyone. I'm just using it as an example, like purely watching history. It's like, yeah, I've had a pretty damn cool job at 37 years old, and yeah, and I didn't win championships earlier. So yeah, I don't know. I think dudes need to be a little more approachable. I think they need to put themselves out there more. There's a few of them that need to be a little more professional about it. You can be professional and still be fun, and I don't know. You just gotta get these kids stoked. Like we need to make BMX look like these kids can grow up and be these BMXers, like be a rad BMXer, not like because it's all going to come from what mom and dad lets you do anyways first. So if you see these like punk dudes doing just bad mouths or whatever, not that I have a clean mouth, but I know when to shut my mouth up and not have a dirty mouth, and these parents that see it that aren't going to want certain kids seeing certain riders, and like just don't be those riders. Like you just need to be more approachable. These kids or these riders need to be more approachable, a little more friendly, but at the same time, I understand the mindset of that one goal of just wanting to be an Olympian and just wanting to be a champion. But you have to, you in today's world, you have to do both. You have to be that social side and the winner.
Barry, thanks so much for your time, dude. It's been a rad conversation as always, man. And I hope to talk to you soon and see you soon as well, man. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
Barry,
Sorry
what a
I so
privilege.
much. Hopefully it was good.
That
Well,
is
thank you.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Awesome. Well, good chat with you guys. I enjoyed this.
All right, later,
Peace.
Barry.
All right. See you guys soon. Later.